Hey dudes, Silvite Soltis here, and I'm back with another simplified guide for all you healers out there. Does your guild still struggle with threat? Do warlocks constantly pull Broodlord Lashlayer into the range group? Is your tank an iron juggernaut that hits like a wet noodle? Well, there's a solution for these issues that you might have heard of. Dual-wield fury-prot tanking. Basically, a warrior that forgoes the shield for an offhand weapon will generate a ton more threat, as he's hitting more often and getting hit a lot harder. This, however, makes the healer's work a lot harder as well, so it could cause a host of other problems for your raid team. Luckily, having experienced this shift in my guild, I've learned a few tricks that can make healing these berserkers a lot easier for you and your team. Before sharing what I've learned though, I would just like to ask you hit that subscribe button below so that you don't miss content like this in the future. There's a lot more coming as we blaze through AQ and NAX, and I'm sure that you'll want to stay informed. But anyway, without further ado, let's get right into my tips. Tip number 1. How to set up your healing team and their assignments. First off is the absolute most important thing to keep in mind as your guild works toward having a dual-wield fury tank, the healing team and their assignments. In the current iteration of Classic, we're seeing an increase in the less healers is more mindset. And while this can have its benefits in terms of overall DPS, it can also be detrimental to raid survivability. So, what can be done? First off, you'll need to make sure that you've got a good balance in your healing team. Around 5 to 6 priests, 5 to 6 paladins or shamans, and 2 to 3 druids. Your healers need to be transparent about their specs, plus healing, preferred healing styles, and gear as well. Then, once your team knows who's got what, you have to start setting up the assignments. Recently, it seems that there are lots of healers relying on add-ons such as HealComm's Classic to basically remove the need for healing assignments overall. And while these add-ons are wonderful for helping healers avoid wasting mana on overhealing, they can cause confusion about who is healing whom. As such, it's important to have healing assignments arranged for fights, and even some trash packs, where your guild plans to use a dual-wield fury-prot tank. About 2 months ago, I took on the job of doing healing assignments for my guild, Exodus on Mancrick US. And through careful consideration and lots of discussion with guild leadership, we found that having 7 to 8 of our healers focused on spamming the tank during boss fights, with only 3 to 4 other healers focusing on raid heals, was the ideal way in which to ensure the main tank was always topped off, no matter how many hits he was taking. If you're the one doing these assignments, make sure to set up a few priests and shamans, if horde, to keep up the 25% armor buff on the tank at all times, as it can really make or break him. Your highest plus healing druid should constantly keep hots up on the tank as well, and you should assign one priest with high plus healing, spec'd into improved renew, to keep that hot up on the tank at all times as well. Finally, make sure that you have at least one priest, preferably not the renew priest, to keep an eye on Power Word Shield, as this bubble can be used in an emergency to save your tank, or to reduce incoming damage, such as Firemaw's Shadow Flame ability. Personally, I keep this bubbling job for myself, as I'm deep discipline. Tip number 2. Use fast heals. Now that you've got a healing team assembled and assignments sorted, it's time for the actual healing. Dual-wield fury tanks take a lot more damage than their shield-bearing counterparts, and generally have a bit less health as well. As such, it's important that they are constantly getting healed up to full. In order to do this, those who are assigned to tank heals must never stop healing. That means using the fastest heals you have available as often as you can. First and foremost, Know if you have a specific job as a healer. Are you the Renew Priest, the Hot Druid, or something else? Then, find a rank of the fastest heal that you can spam constantly for a good 90 seconds straight without going out of mana. For me, it's Flash Heal rank 2, but you can also alternate to a higher rank for emergency situations if needed. Druids are at a bit of a loss here, as they really only have Healing Touch, but priests, paladins, and shamans can all work together to make sure that the tank is constantly getting a heal of at least 500 HP every 0.2 seconds or so. Ideally, mana shouldn't be much of an issue, as the tank should be able to generate so much threat that DPS can go ham on the boss. However, if mana does become a problem, you should make sure to have pots, innervate assignments, and more at the ready. Even superior mana potions can make a big difference. Tip number 3. Target of target. Alright, the third tip is a bit of a simple one, but important nonetheless. Sometimes, when a tank is running dual-wield Fury, he'll just get completely raffle-stomped. And while this hopefully won't happen too often, it's important to be able to continue healing the next target as fast as possible. For that reason, it's important to make sure that you target the boss and keep target of target enabled so that you can quickly swap to the new tank, or warlock, whoever's second on threat. It's also very helpful in this situation to make sure that you're using mouse over macros, like the one I mentioned in my previous Healy Priest tips and tricks guide. If you keep your mouse cursor hovering over the enemy's target like I do, you can keep spamming whoever is taking the damage at all times. Keep in mind that for fights like Veilstra's, where the target changes occasionally, spamming heals on the target of target might result in some random healing of a rogue or mage. But it's still better than risking a loss of your second tank immediately after the first. So, yeah. Tip number 4. Communication. Finally, my last tip is one that should be very clear to anyone who raids in an MMORPG like WoW Classic. Communicate. Talk with your tanks about when you think they need to have a shield on, or when they might be able to swap to their offhand weapon. Odds are, if you speak with them, you'll get a good idea of when they take the most damage, when threat isn't really a big issue, and much, much more. Currently, Blackwing Lair is the most challenging raiding content available in Classic, and while typical dragon fights like Firemaw and Nefarian can be dual-wield Fury tanked fairly easily, others like Chromagus are definitely more suited to the sword and board type tanks. In any case, and especially going forward into AQ and Nax, discuss your tanking and healing strategies together as a guild to decide on the best approach for you. Communication will take you very far. So there you have it. 4 tips for making sure you keep your tanks alive as they equip that offhand weapon. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this guide, and I wish you luck in healing your Fury tank. In my opinion, dual-wield tanking is one of the most interesting new methods of fighting these old bosses that I've seen in my many years of playing this game. It adds a whole new level of complexity to the encounters, while also making them finish much faster. If done correctly, that is. And really, that's what the new meta seems to be all about. In any case, I hope you found this guide useful or interesting. If you liked it, or have any feedback for me, let me know by leaving a comment down below, and hitting that like button, of course. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, then subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Also, if you prefer written content, check out my blog over on Blogspot, where I put guides like this in written form before I make videos here on YouTube. In any case, thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and catch you next time. Take it easy, guys.